The grand ballroom of the Royal Palace Hotel was shining with golden lights and crystal chandeliers. Everything about the place looked expensive, from the marble floors to the soft red carpets that stretched across the hall. Cameras were placed in every corner because this was not just a private event. It was being streamed live to millions of viewers around the world. The reason for all this excitement was one man, Mr. Victor Harrington, a famous billionaire known for his business empire and his love for public attention. He enjoyed proving that he was smarter than everyone else, especially in chess, which he proudly called the game of kings. He often said that his success in business came from his sharp mind and strategic thinking, and tonight he wanted to prove that once again. He walked onto the stage wearing a perfectly tailored black suit, smiling confidently as the audience clapped loudly. A large digital screen behind him displayed bold words, "Beat me at chess and win $100 million." The crowd gasped when they saw the amount. Some people laughed in disbelief, thinking it was just a joke. But Victor raised his hand and confirmed that it was real. "Anyone who can defeat me tonight will walk away with $100 million, he said with a smirk. "But let's be honest, I don't think I'll be losing my money." The rich guests sitting in the front rows laughed loudly. They were used to his bold personality and enjoyed his confidence. Many of them believed he was unbeatable because he had already defeated several professional players in charity matches. To them, this was simply another show where Victor would win and prove his superiority once again. At the back of the ballroom stood a woman and her teenage daughter. They did not look like the other guests. The mother wore a simple dress, and the girl had tied her hair in a neat ponytail. They had received free passes through a community program, and this was the first time they had ever entered such a luxurious place. The girl's eyes were not focused on the decorations or the rich people. She was staring at the chessboard placed on the stage. Her name was Anna, and she had loved chess since she was 9 years old. She had learned the game by borrowing old books from the public library. She did not have a coach or expensive training sessions. Instead, she practiced every night on a second-hand wooden chessboard that had 2 missing pieces replaced with small coins. She watched free online videos whenever she could find internet access. Slowly, quietly, she became very good. As Victor continued speaking on stage, Anna listened carefully. She noticed how he spoke with pride, almost as if he enjoyed making others feel small. He told the audience that chess required not just intelligence, but also a mind built for success. And he hinted that not everyone was born with that ability. His words made some people uncomfortable, but most continued smiling. Then he looked at the audience and said, "Who wants to try and take my money?" There was silence at first. Some people whispered, but no one stood up. The amount was huge. But the fear of losing publicly in front of cameras was even bigger. Victor crossed his arms and laughed lightly. "Is there no brave soul here tonight?" Kana felt her heart beating fast. She looked at her mother, who gave her a small, uncertain smile. Her mother knew how talented her daughter was, but this stage was different. This was not a school competition or a friendly match in the neighborhood park. This was a global stage with bright lights and powerful people watching. After a few seconds that felt like forever, Anna slowly raised her hand. At first, no one noticed her because she was standing at the back. But one of the assistants saw her and pointed toward her direction. Murmurs spread across the hall as people turned to look. Victor squinted his eyes, trying to see who had volunteered. When Anna walked forward through the crowd, the whispers grew louder. Some people were surprised, others looked amused. She did not look like someone who belonged in such a place when she reached the stage. Victor looked down at her and smiled, but his smile was not kind. It was the smile of someone who believed he was about to enjoy an easy victory. "You?" He said lightly. "Well, this should be interesting." The audience chuckled. Camera zoomed in on Anna's calm face. She did not respond to his tone. She simply nodded and took her seat across from him. Victor leaned back in his chair and said into the microphone, "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's challenger." He paused dramatically. Let's see how long this lasts." The crowd laughed again, but Anna placed her hands gently on the chessboard. Her eyes were steady, her breathing was calm. The noise around her slowly faded as she focused on the 64 squares in front of her. For Victor, this was entertainment. For Anna, this was something much bigger. The game had not even started yet. But the real battle was already forming. One side was full of confidence, wealth, and pride. The other side carried quiet determination and years of silent practice. And in that shining ballroom, under the bright lights and curious eyes, the arrogant challenge had officially begun. In the glitzy world of high-stakes business, a billionaire, known for his cutthroat tactics, decided to host a charity chess tournament. He was a formidable player, rarely defeated. The grand prize: $1 million for the winner's chosen charity. Everyone expected a seasoned grandmaster to claim the victory. But then, a 9-year-old girl named Lily walked onto the stage. She had won the local youth championship and earned her spot. The crowd murmured, some amused, some dismissive. The billionaire smirked, seeing an easy, heartwarming photo op. He offered her a draw before the first move was even made. "Let's call it even, little one. We can both be winners." Lily looked up at him, her eyes clear and steady, and said, "I'd prefer to play, sir." The game began. The billionaire opened with a classic aggressive attack, expecting to overwhelm her. But Lily responded with moves that were quiet, patient, and deceptively simple. She wasn't just reacting. She was building an invisible fortress around her king, piece by piece. The billionaire's early advantage started to dissolve. He grew impatient, making a small, overconfident mistake with his knight. It seemed insignificant, a tiny positional error, but Lily saw it. It was the crack in the dam she had been waiting for. For the next hour, the game transformed. The billionaire, once the hunter, was now the one being cornered. Lily's pieces moved with a chilling harmony. Her bishops sliced across the board, her rooks locked down key files, and her queen became a silent predator, lurking in the shadows. The crowd, which had been chatting idly, fell into a stunned silence. They weren't watching a child play. They were witnessing a master at work. The billionaire's face, usually a mask of cool confidence, was now beaded with sweat. He was trapped. Every move he considered led to a worse position. He could feel the net tightening, a suffocating pressure built from Lily's quiet, relentless precision. He looked at the girl across from him. She wasn't gloating. She was just playing. Focused, calm, and completely in control. The game was no longer about money or pride. It was a pure battle of minds, and he was losing. He saw the final, unavoidable sequence: sacrifice, a check, and then mate in 3. There was no escape. He sighed, a sound that echoed through the silent hall. He looked at Lily, then at the board. He slowly reached out his hand, not to make a move, but to tip over his own king. Checkmate. The room erupted in applause. The billionaire stood up and started clapping too, a genuine smile replacing his earlier bewilderment. He walked around the table and shook Lily's small hand. "That was brilliant," he said, his voice filled with respect. "You didn't just play the game. You taught me something about it. What's your secret?" Lily finally smiled, a bright, gap-toothed grin. "My grandpa told me," she said, "that you don't have to be the loudest player on the board to be the strongest. You just have to see the whole story." The billionaire laughed, a deep, hearty sound. He not only donated the $1 million prize to her chosen charity, a local animal shelter, but he also established a new foundation to fund youth chess programs across the country, with Lily as its first honorary chair. That day, a 9-year-old girl didn't just win a game of chess. She showed a world of power and wealth that true strength isn't about how loudly you roar, but how clearly you see the path to victory. She proved that a quiet mind and a patient heart can be the most powerful pieces on the board. What do you think made Lily so successful? Was it just her skill, or was it her mindset? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of unexpected triumphs. Thanks for watching. The tension in the ballroom had become almost unbearable. The playful energy from the beginning of the match had completely disappeared. What remained was silence so deep that even the soft ticking of the chess clock sounded dramatic. Every eye in the room was locked on the board. Victor adjusted his tie and leaned closer, studying the position with intense focus. Just 20 minutes ago, he had been smiling confidently, enjoying the attention and applause. Now his expression was tight and serious. The young girl sitting across from him had forced him into a position he did not like. He was defending. Anna sat still, her hands resting lightly on her lap. Her eyes moved calmly from piece to piece. Calculating quietly, she was not thinking about the crowd, the cameras, or the money. For her, the world had become only 64 squares and 32 pieces. Victor finally made his move, sliding his king slightly to the side to escape the immediate threat. It was not a strong move, but it was necessary. He was buying time, trying to reorganize his pieces. Anna responded almost instantly. Placing her rook on an open file, the move looked simple, but it carried a dangerous purpose. She was increasing the pressure slowly. Not rushing, not showing excitement. The audience began whispering again. Some guests who understood chess were starting to realize what was happening. The billionaire was trapped in a tight position. His pieces were cramped, and his king lacked safety. Victor tried to change the direction of the game. He launched a counterattack on the opposite side of the board, moving his pawns forward aggressively. It was a risky decision, but he believed that creating chaos might confuse her. He had won many games by overwhelming opponents with sudden attacks, but Anna did not look confused. She studied his attack carefully, then calmly advanced her pawn, blocking his progress. Her defense was not only solid, but also flexible. Each of her pieces supported the others perfectly. Victor began to feel something unfamiliar. Doubt, he looked at the board again, searching for a powerful combination, something brilliant that would turn the game around. He calculated quickly, then made a bold move, sacrificing one of his bishops to open her king's position. The crowd gasped. It was a dramatic attempt, a move that showed his desperation but also his courage. For a brief moment, it looked dangerous. Anna's king was slightly exposed, and the billionaire's pieces were aiming toward it. Cameras zoomed in closer, capturing every detail of her face. She did not panic. Instead, she leaned forward, her eyes sharp and focused. She saw what he was trying to do. The bishop's sacrifice was not unstoppable, it only looked frightening. She captured the bishop calmly, then moved her queen to a square that shocked everyone watching. It was a quiet move, but powerful. Victor's eyes widened. He had missed it. In his attempt to attack, he had left his back rank weak. His king was now dangerously close to a checkmate pattern. He quickly searched for an escape, moving his rook to defend, but Anna had already calculated everything. She repositioned her bishop, cutting off the last safe square for his king. The room was no longer whispering. It was completely silent. Victor's confidence was gone, replaced by urgency. He wiped his forehead and stared at the board as if hoping the pieces would rearrange themselves. But chess does not forgive mistakes. He tried one final desperate move, pushing a pawn forward to create space for his king. Anna waited a few seconds, making sure of her calculation. Then she moved her rook. "Check," she said softly. The word echoed through the silent ballroom. Victor moved his king, the only legal square available. Anna then slid her queen across the board with smooth precision. Checkmate. For a moment, no one reacted. It was as if the entire room had frozen. The billionaire stared at the board in disbelief. His king was trapped. There was no escape. No defense, no trick left. The teenage girl in simple clothes had just defeated one of the richest and most confident men in the country. The silence broke into loud applause. Some people stood up in shock. Others clapped wildly. Cameras flashed rapidly, capturing the historic moment. Victor slowly leaned back in his chair, staring at the board. The laughter from the beginning of the night felt very far away now. Anna remained calm. She did not celebrate loudly. She simply sat there, her heart beating fast, but her face steady. The turning point had come, and the billionaire was no longer in control. For several long seconds after the word checkmate left her lips, the world seemed to stop moving. The applause that had exploded across the ballroom slowly faded into a strange, heavy silence. It was not the silence of boredom or confusion. It was the silence of disbelief. Victor Harrington stared at the chessboard as if it had betrayed him. His king stood trapped in the corner, surrounded with no escape. He replayed the final moves in his mind, again and again, searching for a mistake that did not exist, but the truth was clear. He had been outplayed. Across from him, Anna sat quietly. Her hands rested in her lap, and her breathing was steady. Inside, her heart was racing, but she did not show it. She had not come here to embarrass anyone. She had only come to play the game she loved. The cameras zoomed in on Victor's face, capturing every emotion. The confident smile he wore at the beginning of the night was gone. In its place was something more human, more honest. He slowly stood up. The audience watched carefully, wondering how he would react. Would he deny it? Would he laugh it off? Would he make an excuse? Instead, he looked at Anna for a long moment. Then he extended his hand. "You played brilliantly," he said, his voice no longer playful, but respectful. The room reacted with surprise. That simple sentence carried more weight than all his earlier jokes combined. Anna stood and shook his hand politely. "I just played the board," she replied softly. Her answer touched something in the audience. It was humble and pure. Victor turned toward the crowd and took a deep breath. "A promise is a promise," he announced. His voice echoed through the hall. "She defeated me fairly. And she has earned every dollar of the 100 million. Gasps spread again. Even though everyone had heard the challenge earlier, hearing him confirm it after losing felt different. It was real now. Anna's mother, who had been standing near the back with trembling hands, covered her mouth in shock. Tears filled her eyes. She had struggled for years to provide for her daughter, working long hours, sacrificing comforts, believing quietly in her child's talent, even when no one else noticed. Victor signaled to his legal team, who were already stepping forward to begin the formal process. But before anything else, he raised his hand once more. "I want to say something," he said. The room fell silent again. "Tonight, I thought I was putting on a show," he admitted. "I believed my experience and success made me unbeatable. I underestimated someone because of how she looked and where she came from." He paused briefly. "That was my biggest mistake." Those words were not easy for a man like him, but they were honest. Anna listened quietly, not with pride, but with understanding. She knew what it felt like to be underestimated. She had faced it many times in school tournaments where opponents smiled at her before the first move. Victor continued, "Chess is a game of strategy, but it is also a game of humility. Tonight, I was reminded that talent does not depend on wealth. Status does not create intelligence. And confidence without respect can lead to defeat." The audience erupted into applause again. This time not just for Anna's victory, but for the lesson that had unfolded in front of them. Reporters rushed forward with microphones, asking Anna how she felt. She answered simply, "I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm thankful my mother always believed in me." When asked what she would do with the money, she paused thoughtfully. "First, I will make sure my mother never has to struggle again," she said. "And then, I want to create a free chess program for children who cannot afford coaching. There are many talented kids who just need a chance." Her answer created even more admiration. Victor looked at her with a new expression. Not arrogance, not embarrassment, but respect. Later that night, the story spread across social media and news channels worldwide. Headlines spoke about the billionaire who was defeated by a poor daughter. But more importantly, they spoke about humility, opportunity, and hidden genius. For Victor, the loss became one of the most important lessons of his life. He continued playing chess in the future, but he never again laughed at an opponent before the first move. For Anna, the victory was not just about money. It was proof that quiet, hard work can defeat loud confidence. It was proof that intelligence does not need expensive clothes or grand stages to shine. In that grand ballroom, filled with gold lights and powerful people, something far more valuable than $100 million had been won. Respect, and that was a victory neither of them would ever forget.